And incidentally, still very much a virgin. A virgin, but not for long. There's a rustling in the bushes, and I sense masculinity in them. Perhaps it's Arden who's come to steal away my virginity. Come, Arden, I'm open. I'm spread open for you. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Chess of Blades. In the last episode, we were sandwiched between Linnaeus and Franz, and they were both fighting for us. At least I think they were. I hope they were. But, damn, that whipped cream is simply just too enticing. I pull up the slice of cake in front of me, sighing happily. This is what it means to be an adult.
Oh, is that your shy little way of saying you want a kiss after all?
Smirking rather victoriously, Franz swipes a bit of cream off the cake with his finger and licks it off in the lewdest manner I can imagine.
Disgusting. And you're no better, you know. What would your father think?
His razor-sharp glare directed at me now, Linnaeus shakes his head disparagingly and takes an irritated bite of bread. I wince a little while nibbling a bite of cake off my fork, deciding not to retort and further fan the flames.
Oh, by the way, have either of you picked out your costumes for the masquerade yet? I forgot to look for a mask today.
Deciding to change the subject, I pick up my glass of wine and pour it to each of the two men over the top. My rather spontaneous question doesn't get an immediate response, but Linnaeus soon lets out a slight snort.
The entire affair is ridiculous, if you ask me. The fanciful concept of a masquerade is so contrived, it makes my stomach churn.
I think they're enchanting. Mystery only adds to the beauty of things, after all.
Murmuring a little dreamily, Franz trails a finger along the rim of his own glass, watching me with a subtle smile.
Something like that, perhaps.
Well, my ass is always going to remain a mystery to you, Franz. Well, at least until the next route. So don't get any ideas.
Mysteries only cause problems in mortal existence. One should dedicate one's career to providing answers, not questions.
That's the attitude of a man with no romance in his life. You wouldn't be able to understand.
Aren't they taking this a little too seriously? It's just a damn masquerade.
Ah, is that the new wine they're bringing out? Oh, right, the king's favorite. Well, should we have a toast?
After we're each served a fresh glass filled with the fruity liquid, both Linnaeus and Franz turn from glaring at each other to watch me expectantly. Well, I guess I was the one who proposed a toast. In that case, let's toast to... Does it matter? I mean, I'm not trying to get with either of these bitches.
To all of our success in future endeavors, and that we never become complacent in our fortunes.
I raise my glass to my uninspiring words, hoping the huge forced grin on my face compensates for my utter lack of charisma. Oh. Did he just fucking cum in his pants a little? Surprised, I glance over at Linnaeus, who seems to be caught in the middle of a giggling fit.
That was the worst attempt at a toast I've ever heard.
He takes off his glasses for a moment to wipe a tear from his eye.
It was a little questionable. We can't all be masters of the spoken word.
Shaking his head a little bit, Franz takes a long drink from his glass, licking his lips somewhat critically.
Well, I'm not the son of a famous orator, you know. The bloodline talents lie elsewhere.
We continue to dine for a little while longer, the two men exchanging frequent jabs in between my forced attempts to mediate. Finally unable to stand up much more of their incredible awkwardness, I push out my chair and rise to my feet.
Well, it seems like they're opening the doors to the ballroom. I think I'll go catch a bit of fresh air before all that dancing starts.
Not sticking around to even hear a reply, I quickly toss my napkin on the chair and hasten towards the main hall. Luckily, there are a few other people who've left the dining hall to chatter privately or stroll around, so I don't look too out of place.
Never again.
I have no idea how I got caught up in that situation, but it's certainly one I don't want repeated. Those two are bad enough by themselves, yet somehow get exponentially worse together. Ugh. Finding my way out to the back doors, I step out into the gardens and take a deep breath of the night air. The sounds of laughter and the clinking of silverware become distant, barely audible through the castle walls. There's an ornate stone bench nested among the hedges and fragrant bushes, so I lower myself onto it with a soft sigh. It feels amazing. My dining chair, however, plush, turned out to provide quite a miserable experience, nesting me between an unstoppable force and an immovable object. I clasp my hands behind my head and gaze up at the sky where the almost full moon floats in a sea of stars. It looks so serene and peaceful, two words that don't seem to have any place in this bustling celebration. All the grandiose parties I've been to with my family in the past weren't nearly as magnificent in scale. That's right, my family. A smile gradually forms on my lips as I fondly wonder what they're doing now. Father, mother, my little sister who's a few years older than Hazel is. If I have family of my own someday, will they all get embroiled in these endless politics and quarrels? I think I'd rather have a quiet life in the countryside than be forced to keep dabbling in court affairs, and I never want my family to be in a situation like this.
Would I be able to give up fine wines and full days of just lazing around and reading, though? Rural life sounds like hard work.
I pluck a rose from one of the bushes nearby, admiring the soft petals as I cup it in my hands, minding the thorns, of course. Arden, Linnaeus, Franz. They all seem so at home here, like they are born to be around bustling crowds and courtly intrigue. Could I ever be like that someday? Do I want to be? A part of me is perfectly happy with how I am now, but another smaller part of me wants more. To dance, to charm others, to read politics as well, as I used to read my favorite picture books as a little boy. But I wonder really if it's worth it, or if it'll ever happen. They say you can change yourself into what you really want to be if you try hard enough, but it feels like some parts of myself are just immutable, a core part of who I am. Who am I? Well, an avid reader, a purveyor of delicious sweets, the son of the best military strategist in our kingdom's history, and incidentally, still very much a virgin. A virgin, but not for long. There's a rustling in the bushes, and I sense masculinity in them. Perhaps it's Arden who's come to steal away my virginity. Come, Arden, I'm open, I'm spread open for you. Nearby, a faint rustling sound startles me from my thoughts. If I strain my ears, I can barely hear the sound of whispering, just like yesterday during the dance. Gritting my teeth in determination to find this mystery whisper, I creep closer in the direction as quietly as I can. I'm sure this isn't dangerous at all. It's not like someone's after my life or anything. It's not like Franz told me that.
Back inside. Let them hear.
A few phrases are discernible, but I can't really figure out what they're saying. But for some reason, ominous words echo in the back of my mind. Mark my words, something unpleasant is going to happen. You'll be dragged into it whether you like it or not. A shiver runs down my spine and a cold tingle. What if this is what Franz was talking about? What if I... A sudden tap comes at my shoulder, and I whirl around fast enough to almost lose my balance.
Whoa, calm down, Riv.
Rather than an assassin, the man who stands before me is... Arden.
What the hell are you doing here? No, shh, don't answer that. Wait.
I hold my finger to my lips and glare at Aiden while straining my ears. The sound of whispering, however, is completely gone. Figures.
Riv? What is it? Why are you acting so strange?
Nothing.
I wave my hand dismissively, shaking my head. Maybe it's a good thing that he came. After all, those people were really up to something.
Is the dinner finished? There'll be a break before the dance, I assume.
Probably. I doubt I can dance with all that fricassee in me. And I think my cheeks are swollen from being pinched so much.
Oh, by your swarm of aunts? I almost felt sorry for you.
His cheeks do look a little pink. Arden nods a little sourly when I mention his fanatic female relatives, rubbing at the back of his neck with a hand.
I wanted to sit with you, but it didn't happen. I saw you with a couple of other gentlemen, though.
Please understand, there's nothing between me and them. Arden, who is never good at hiding his curiosity, tilts his head in a manner obviously implying his interest. We should have eaten together is probably the better answer.
It was awful. I never thought I'd say this, but I would have much rather eaten with you.
Oh, really?
With a delighted grin quickly spreading on his face, Arden lets out a little chuckle. I may be imagining things, but I'm pretty sure his pink cheeks got a shade darker.
Well, I would have rather eaten with you too, Riv. Of course. I mean, who'd want to eat with those ladies anyway? Not that they're not nice ladies, it's just...
Yes, I get it. Maybe next time then.
Definitely.
I can practically envision him as a huge dog, tail madly wagging, tongue hanging out happily. He'd be more flattering if it was anyone else. Because it's Aiden, though, I don't exactly get an ego boost. Taking a deep breath and smoothing my hair back with one hand, I start heading back towards the castle, motioning for Arden to follow. He quickly catches up to my side, distractedly gazing up at the stars.
Why were you out here anyway? Just for a walk?
Yes, I was in dire need of some fresh air. Otherwise, I probably would have passed out like a maiden with their corset stretched too tight.
How do girls even wear those things? I'd explode after a minute.
The image of Arden in a corset comes to my mind, and I find myself strangely intrigued.
Yes. Well, anyway, what are you going to do until the dance starts?
I question as we step back inside the main hall, pausing as we pass the threshold.
Well, after you left the dining hall, we were told there was going to be some kind of announcement. I'll stick around to hear that, and afterwards there might be time before the dance for me to go for a little jog.
Jogging before dancing? You athletic freak of nature.
I just hate feeling all full after a meal, you know. Need to work it off.
Yes, whatever you say.
As we head further into the main hall, I can see a number of guests have already left the dining room and turned here. If Arden's right, whatever announcement they have for us will probably be given in this hall. My eyes are suddenly drawn to a small figure standing amidst the crowd, talking with someone whose back is turned to me. That's the boy who knocked on my door earlier, isn't it? I wonder if he ever met up with Celeste. I saw her just before dinner, so perhaps the two of them already spoken. Strange that he was so jumpy about it, though. Heaving a sigh, I eye some of the guests for a moment before glancing over to Arden, elbowing his side a bit.
Well, it looks like most of our fellow fine-blooded company has finished dining. This is a very casual affair, isn't it?
Arden nods in agreement, rubbing a hand thoughtfully on his
I
cheek.
think most fancy galas tend to keep guests on a stricter watch or schedule, but the king seems more interested in a relaxed atmosphere.
Maybe we're part of some grand social experiment. Like, you know, how long it takes noblemen to start throwing food fights or having sex in the closets?
Closets?
Arden's shocked expression at my casual remark is intimately priceless. I guess he's totally in the closet. What a gay boy, but not me. I'm totally straight. Really, hasn't he heard worse in the guard forces? It's a bunch of rowdy young men, for crying out loud.
Anyway, look, it's that fellow who read the schedule of festivities last night, up on the balcony. Is he going to give his announcement up there? I
squint up at the man's shape as well as the scroll in his hands. The elegantly dressed crowd goes gradually quiet as all of our eyes focus on the top of the second-floor balcony. There's a bit of angsty shuffling as a few folks probably drank too much wine and are in desperate need of a visit to the nearest chamber pot. Clearing his throat, the announcer inhales deeply and begins to read.
Ladies and gentlemen, refined guests, we hope you have enjoyed His Highness's grand celebration so far. Tomorrow the festival will continue with new games and attractions, and it is His Majesty's sincere wish for you to delight in them all. Now, it is my great pleasure to introduce a highly esteemed guest of honor who...
She's gone!
A woman's frantic voice suddenly splits the air, making everyone freeze.
Hazel! Hazel!
Before my eyes, a woman in maid's clothing runs out of a nearby hallway, a petrified expression of horror on her face. Right behind her is Silas, jogging in a somehow refined fashion, trying to gently block her path and slow her down.
Emily, we can't disturb the guests like this.
They kidnapped her! They took her away before my very eyes, Silas! What do you expect me to do?
She stops in her tracks and turns to glare fiercely at Silas, and there's enough intensity in her expression to make him hesitate and back away slightly.
Miss, what's wrong?
To my surprise, Celeste steps out of the shocked crowd with a concerned look, approaching the maid, Emily, and reaching out to her shoulders comfortingly.
My little girl.
The woman's voice trembles, clearly on the edge of hysteria, but Celeste claps the maid's hands firmly in her own and speaks to her gently.
Just take a deep breath. Tell us what happened.
Emily pauses, taking a shuddering inhale, her chest rising and falling rapidly. She manages a small, strained nod, clearly grateful for Celeste's words.
My Hazel. I was going back to our chambers, but just as I arrived, she was being carried away. I couldn't see who they were, but they had my daughter, and they escaped through the window before I could even reach it.
Whispered, curious murmurings flutter through the crowd of gathered guests as numerous pairs of prying eyes focus on the maid.
Hazel, someone kidnapped her?
It sounds like that. But why?
I study Emily's face, watching as she speaks in hesitant whispers to Celeste. She's clearly panicked, and no wonder. It must be horrible to see your child get snatched away before your eyes.
They can't have gone far. After all, there's a wall around the castle and festival grounds with guards at the gate to the road. She has to still be here somewhere.
An intense frown suddenly darkens Arden's features, possessing them with an unusual sharpness. This must be his guard mode, or whatever sense of duty spurs him to protect others.
I'm sure they'll find her by the end of the night. I doubt the king's so cruel as to ignore a thing like this, even if it is during his celebration.
There's no way he would. A king's job is to keep his people strong and safe.
I can't help but think he sounds awfully resolute, unlike his normal mild manner. At that moment, a servant rushes up to the announcer's side, hurriedly whispering something in his ear. I can tell from the man's swiftly darkening expression that something must have happened, probably related to Hazel's kidnapping. Soon after, the announcer clears his throat and raises his voice to address us loudly.
Your attention, please.
His firm words are quick to hush the murmuring crowd, and everyone's eyes shoot up towards him.
In light of recent events, we will no longer be presenting our guest of honor this evening. However, we ask that all guests remain calm, as His Majesty's men will resolve this issue before morning. During this while, please continue to enjoy the remaining festivities and report any suspicious behavior to the guards.
Finishing his announcement, he bows respectfully and disappears further beyond the balcony, leaving behind a faint haze of confusion and curiosity.
Well, I suppose we'll just retire for the night.
I hope they didn't cancel the dance. I wanted to try dancing in my new shoes.
The chatter soon resumes its previous levels, seemingly unaffected by the mysterious kidnapping. However, a certain uneasiness lurks at the bottom of my stomach. As much as I'd like to have confidence in the King's men, I find myself growing a bit worried.
I'm going to talk to Emily for a moment, Arden. I'll meet up with you afterwards.
Right. I'll ask the guards if they have any more information on what might have happened.
His tone still grave, he turns and heads off quickly, a determined quality in his steps. I guess he really does have a responsible streak after all. Must be a new development. My attention returning to where Emily and Celeste are standing, I approach them cautiously, not wanting to startle the poor maid. Silas has already left Emily's side, perhaps to go help with the search for Hazel.
Ah, Sir Rivian.
Just Rivian is fine. How is she doing?
Motioning to Emily, I raise an eyebrow inquisitively at Celeste.
I can think a little more clearly now, sir.
Her voice quiet and still a little shaky, Emily answers my question herself, glancing up at me hesitantly. I contemplate what the best words are to say in this situation, but without any prior experience, I'm just going to have to wing it.
I met your daughter last night, and again this morning. She's a sweet girl, and I'll be damned if I let some creep take off with her, peasant or nobleman.
Surprised at my firm reassurance, the maid blinks a little.
One of my friends is in the Royal Guard. I'm sure he'll find a trace of her whereabouts. He's certainly skillful at tracking me down, so I have faith in his abilities.
Yes.
A small relieved smile tugs at the corner of her lips, and a bit of the crease in her brow diminishes.
You're both very kind to care for a maid's worries, but my daughter truly is my world.
I can understand that. My mother would always go into a panic if I was ever out of her sight for 5 minutes.
She raised a good daughter.
Feeling slightly out of place in this feminine bonding moment, I cough quietly and both women turn to me.
I was just curious. Did you happen to get a look at the one who was carrying Hazel away?
I couldn't see very well as the room was still dark, but I thought I saw something bright and glimmering on his belt. It caught my eye in the moonlight.
No chance for more specifics, I suppose.
Emily shakes her head guiltily, rubbing her shoulders with one hand.
I only caught a glimpse of the person. I couldn't even tell if it was a man or a woman, I'm afraid.
I see.
Well, I certainly can't think of anyone matching such a vague description. And their belt had this shiny thing isn't exactly helpful either.
I'll do my best to find some clues too. Don't you worry, miss.
Celeste encouragingly smiles at Emily, and then her eyes slide over to meet mine. She winks at me for some reason, and I blink in surprise. Is she coming on to me?
All right. Time to hunt down a kidnapper. I'll see you later, Rivian.
This is no time to be flirting. A child has just been kidnapped. And just like that, she's off, clutching at her skirts to keep from tripping as she runs along. Isn't she just a little too excited about this? Besides, it's not exactly befitting of a noble girl to go playing around detective during a formal affair. But I suppose that's rather hypocritical of me, considering I want to figure out who's behind Hazel's kidnapping too.
Well, I'll do my best to help little Hazel, Miss Emily. We'll get her back, I promise.
I believe you, sir, and I believe in the King's men.
She sounded a little hesitant then, but I can't blame her. They're trained watchdogs and guardsmen, not sleuths.
Stay safe until then.
She drops a grateful curtsy to me, and with a nod, I leave her to start heading back to my room. Well, time to hit the hay. We'll deal with that kidnapping incident in the morning. The crowd has mostly dispersed, so it's fairly easy for me to maneuver my way upstairs, and I head through the corridors while mulling over my thoughts. I still can't think of why anyone would want to kidnap a maid's daughter. And more importantly, why would they risk doing it at such a high-profile and well-guarded event? They'd have to be a complete madman or a mastermind. I don't think there's room for anything in between. Releasing a heavy sigh, I swing open the door to my room, intending to collapse on the bed.
What the?
Oh, you're back.
Standing by the fireplace is Arden, about as nonchalant as you can be while in someone else's room. To be honest, I'd rather not think about how he got in here in the first place.
I have many questions, but ignoring that for a moment, Did you find out anything?
Not a whole lot, sadly. Only that no one was guarding the area around the servants' quarters at the time. Normally there's at least one guard patrolling the area, but he was found out cold in a chair. Drugged, maybe.
Groaning faintly, I approach the fireplace and lower myself down in the seat nearby, cradling my head in my hands.
I suppose it was too optimistic to think the rest of the celebration would go peacefully.
After a moment of silence, I feel a hand resting lightly on my shoulder, the warmth detectable even through my coat.
It's not easy for you, is it, Riv? You never liked these kind of parties.
For some reason, his sympathetic tone makes me suddenly irritated, and I raise my head to shoot him a sharp look.
You didn't either, but you've changed quite a bit, haven't you? Ever since you went off for your fancy training. And you keep following me around like I've got some obligation to you just because we were friends 4 years ago. Let me assure you that's not the case.
Aww. My harsh word make Arden's eyes widen, a lost expression on his still boyish face. Why are you being so mean to Arden? He's a cutie patootie. His mouth drops open, then closes, then opens again as he seems to search for words.
You've changed so much too. I almost wondered if I'd mistaken you for someone else when you first arrived here.
Aww.
All you do now is treat me like I mean nothing to you.
Look at him, he's so sad.
Even though you used to...
Yes, well, time does change people, doesn't it? We both have to accept we're not the friends we once were. I'll work with you to find Hazel, but don't expect much more. After this is over, there's no need for us to speak again.
Shit. Arden's lips pressed together tightly, his eyes closing for a long moment. Is there some reason that they can't still be friends? I don't get it. Like, did they have a falling out that I'm not aware of? I half expect him to throw himself onto me and start sobbing, but he doesn't. Finally, his eyes reopen, and he looks at me with a surprisingly unreadable expression.
If that's what you want, fine. Sorry for bothering you.
Without another word, he turns and walks over to the door, pausing only when he reaches out for the knob.
Rivian. Good night.
He steps out into the hall and closes the door behind him, leaving me in silence when his footsteps fade away. The cracking of the fire dimly echoes in the room, and outside I can see it's starting to rain a little. I suppose I was a bit harsh with him. Do I feel guilty, though? Not really. He certainly doesn't seem to feel guilty about what he did. What did he do? So there was something that happened? But I am a little annoyed. For some reason, I would have preferred it if he got mad, punched me, kicked the chair. Instead, though, he just gave me a double-edged good night and runs off. What kind of man does that? His mother didn't raise him right. Nah. What was that nah for? Still rather irritated, I go about grooming and cleaning myself before changing out my clothes and crawling into bed. As the rain patters against the balcony door, I curl under the covers and close my eyes. I hope you're safe, Hazel. Arden or no Arden, I'll find you. I promise. My eyes struggle open. It's a little dark outside. I felt like I slept for ages, though. I straighten up, squinting through the window. It's still raining, and the sky is a murky, hazy gray.
I guess the festival won't be happening today.
Maybe I can go back to bed then. I'm still so sleepy. Oh damn, that's right. Someone's child got kidnapped. Damn, I have to get out of bed today. Damn. Hazel, last night. I promised to help, didn't I? Oh, maybe she won't notice if I just go back to sleep. Maybe Emily just will forget about Hazel. Maybe it's okay. Maybe she won't even remember that I said I'd help. Letting out a lazy groan? Is that what it's supposed to say? Letting out a lazy groan, I pull myself out of bed with a struggle, crawling along the floor towards my clothes. After dressing and fixing my sleep-tousled hair some, I still don't feel fully awake, but I managed to make my way out of the room regardless. I notice it's much quieter than yesterday as I head down the corridors on my way to the main hall. A lot of guests are probably still staying in their rooms or exploring the castle thanks to this horrible weather. A familiar tall, elegant figure stands in front of the window by the castle entrance, gazing out at the rain. When I wander up to his side, he quickly turns to look down at me.
Ah, greetings, sir. I wasn't sure if I ought to wake you up again this morning, considering this seems to be a poor day for the outdoor festivities.
I'm quite glad you didn't. I was in dire need of a good rest after yesterday.
I glance out of the misty window where the festival grounds are being splattered with a heavy downpour. I'm sure it'll clear up by tomorrow, but it has to be quite disappointing for the merchants hoping to find their big break with all these rich patrons.
By the way, you were the one who found Emily when she was a bit hysterical, didn't you?
At my question, Silas' eyes briefly widen before his normal cool expression quickly returns.
Yes, it just so happens I was in the area when I heard her scream. She is normally quiet and rather reserved, save when it comes to Hazel, so I had the sense that something was very amiss.
You didn't happen to see anyone who looked suspicious, did you? The culprit may have gone through the window, but it's possible there was an accomplice.
I'm afraid not, sir. But there was something I thought was rather strange.
He frowns, a small crease forming on his elegant brow as he clasps his hands behind his back.
The maid had stated Hazel's kidnapper left through the window, but the servants' quarters are on the second story by the north side. To drop from, or ascend to that window, that would require rope, not to mention conspicuous preparations.
Huh. Maybe they used a grappling hook.
Silas gives me a respectfully dubious look and I scratch my head a bit.
I mean no offense, sir, but there is almost no ledge on the window of which the maid spoke of. The culprit almost certainly had dropped such a rope from within the room, or had someone else do it for them.
He sounds quite confident in his assessment. Silas strikes me as a particularly shrewd butler, so I don't doubt he scanned over the scene at least once. Although, I'm curious about what he was doing around there when Hazel was kidnapped. After all, during the dance on the first day, he was here in the main hall to serve the guests.
Well, do you know if there's been any progress made by the guards since last night? I trust they're not all entirely incompetent oafs.
I doubt the king would take too kindly to such an assessment of his men, sir. It is true, however, that they are not used to dealing with situations like this. I am not sure of their progress, but since the girl has not yet returned, I doubt they have met with much success. Perhaps you can be more successful in your search, sir, if you are so inclined to help, Emily.
Where the hell is the Grand Inquisitor? Isn't he like the fucking... Didn't he say he's always looking for answers and he fucking deals with domestic affairs? This seems pretty domestic. Where are you? Where are you, Linnaeus? He bows deeply to me, concern leaking through his polite tone. It's not hard to think he knows more than he's willing to say, or at least has speculations of his own.
Before you go, you haven't seen Arden around by chance, have you?
Sir Arden? I believe he passed me by this morning in the hall, but I have not seen him since, I fear.
I see. Well, carry on.
With another bow, Silas turns and leaves me standing by myself, only the sound of rain filling the void of silence. And I think I'll end this episode here, guys. But thank you for watching. I can't wait to find out why Emily definitely killed Emily killed her daughter, Hazel. Who knows, though? I have no idea. But she does seem awfully suspicious. See you next time, guys. Hi, guys. I just wanted to let you guys know about my Discord I have. I'm chatting in there. A lot of other subscribers are chatting in there, and it's a lot of fun. And I really recommend pasting the Discord link in here instead of just clicking on it in my YouTube comments. Sometimes Discord can be a little bit weird when you click on the link. So I recommend just copy and pasting it in here. And You have to be over 18 to be in this Discord though, guys, so please do be aware of that. If I find out you're under 18, I will ban you. I will kick you. And all you have to do when you get to this page is type -agree. After you read the rules and agree to the rules, just type a -agree. That's really important. It's a dash and then an agree. No spaces. If you just type that, you'll get full access to the Discord. And there are 58 people who can't figure out how to type -agree. So don't be like them. All right, guys, I hope to see you in the Discord. Bye.